Wednesday edition of Filmmaker IQ Live. We're gonna be live now. I'm a little late here because I was messing around my computer. My laptop is behaving sadly again. But I think we should be able to hold on together. So I did title this a live critique of a short thriller, plus what I thought of the Batman. Now I'm going to probably get to the Batman thing in a little bit, but I did like it. So calm your horses before you get all excited. Like, he didn't like it. He didn't like it. Well, I did like it. Say hi, folks, if you guys are in. But today we're going to do a critique of a film submitted by Anthony Chila. It is directed by Kamp, written by Brittany Fenwick, and it was submitted for some festivals, so they wanted me to take a look at it. And if we can get this working, just make sure the chats and everything we're live here. You guys hear me okay? Is it okay coming through here? Just acknowledge here. Make sure we're all hunky-dory. I think we are. So, all right. Well, let me go ahead and pull this up and make sure my files are going here. Yeah, there's somebody saying hi. Steel Style Shots Photography. I can hear you. Oh, cool. All right, good. We're all running. So let's take a look at this film here, and then we'll do a critique of it. Okay, let's see if I can pull this off here. All right, we're going to jump into my Premiere. All right, you should be able to still hear me. Okay, good. All right, let me take that text off. All right, we're going to do this thing. Here we go. I know, boomer time.
Common for food to be at a funeral?
Yeah. Can we eat, or should we wait for the professor to get here?
No reception. Funerals always bring such bad energy.
How do you all know her? Hope and I have been friends since high school. Before Hope, I always used to eat alone. She just claimed me as her friend one day. Sat with me at lunch and started talking to me like we've been friends our whole lives. Next thing you know, 30 odd years have passed and she's still my best friend. Was my best friend.
You know, whenever I travel to a new country, I like to bring home something like that.
That's nice.
Yeah. Helps me keep track of everywhere I go.
Do you have anywhere you'd recommend?
Indonesia for sure.
Oh, nice. Anywhere in particular? Sumatra, Padang, Sulawesi?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to pick just one state. You know, it's hard given how large the continent is.
My girlfriend comes from West Sumatra, place called Padang. Have you been there?
No.
Definitely not Padang.
Sorry, I just need things to be clean.
Gonna be okay.
What the fuck's the matter with you?
Dance with angels and dream of friends.
Are you alright?
God, come on, blood.
It's okay, you're covered in blood. I'm trying to help you. It's okay.
Call an ambulance.
go back to my wide. So overall, not bad, but there are some real issues here. First and foremost, and you've already mentioned it in the is my audio a little soft? Let's make it turn myself up. Maybe I just need to get closer to the mic. I turned the audio of the video down. Let's see. Hello. I should probably just raise the audio a little bit. All right. So, as you've already mentioned it, the audio is an issue. It's your Achilles heel, unfortunately, in that film. The audio, it ruins it. Honestly, I think the film would be a lot better if the audio was. You got a lot of room tone, and I think part of the problem is I think you need to mic closer. At this point, the solution might actually at this point to ADR the whole thing. There's a lot of like noises of, people putting things on the plate, and it's just you're hearing that table sound, and it really makes it sound really bad. Like it takes away. Honestly, like listening here on my system, which my speakers are way over there. I'm not viewing it in a very very good way of seeing it. It's and Gunini, it's not just on your end. It's almost hard to understand the dialogue because the audio is so much of a problem. Now the second thing, which is a little bit, we'll talk about big picture stuff last, but part of the problem is you've unfortunately, and I know Anthony, you're not the director, but you picked probably the hardest thing to direct, which is a room full of 7 people. You got so many issues with eye lines. And now I've watched this about 5 times now, so I understand, and I've actually mapped it out. Oh, I got rid of I had a Photoshop file up. I got, let me just pull up my Photoshop here. Oh, my computer is real buggy here. So let me type. It won't even. Not even today, huh? Let's just put the map up here. I can pull up that way. All right, so you've got 7 characters, and they're seated in a table. It makes it extraordinarily hard to cross-cut because you're constantly crossing the 180-degree line. And I don't want to sound, I think the defense I hear in my head is, well, you want to cross the 180-degree line because you're trying to throw the audience off. Unfortunately, you want to save that cross for later. Because you're crossing the line all the time, it's very confusing. Like I've had to watch it about 5 times to kind of understand where everyone is and how they are speaking to each other. We'll go through this thing shot by shot and kind of talk about it here. All right. So let's just dive in. Let's go ahead and jump through it. Let's go back. I know I should probably have a person helping me when I do these things. Yeah, the Italians did everything 100% ADR all the time. Yeah, I think the Chinese did it too. That's why all those Bruce Lee films are so ADR heavy. Okay, so let's go through this thing shot by shot, shall we? All right, the first shot. I love this house, by the way. It's an amazing house. The problem here, though, I notice you are doing a little bit of motion, but there is so little going on that you can't really tell that there is actually motion in this shot. Is my computer not going to work with me today? Holy moly. There it goes. So you can barely see some parallax going on in that leaf in the corner. I know, it's even hard to see visually here. Let's see if I maybe just go like that. And I won't even play. Well, this is wonderful, John. But I would either go with a static shot or something, maybe put something in the foreground to get some parallax going on there. All right, so again, we have our table here. Now I like the shots of the watching statues. I think that foreshadows well. But here's where we're talking about eye lines here. So I don't know all the names of the characters, but the bearded guy speaks.
Yeah.
And then this redhead lady's looking to the far left, which is confusing because really she should be looking a little bit less to her left and a little more down the line. And I've actually drawn this out in a, if I can pull this up, in a map. All right, let's see if we can actually get this to work. All right, here we go. So your first shot is this first camera here, and it's sort of dolling into the potato chip guy, redhead, and clean freak. This is what I'm calling them. Raven hair girls at the very end, bearded guy, best friend, selfie. So your first camera angle's moving in toward the raven hair along that or it's tracking that shot. But then you reverse the shot with the bearded guy, over the bearded guy's shoulder to the redhead, and the redhead looks like she's really looking at the raven-haired girl, not the guy that just talked, which is a confusing thing for eyeline. I know I'm getting sort of like conspiratorial here. I'm getting to the point. This is like the JFK movie, where it's like super like above to the left and to the right. But that's an eyeline issue, so I'm confused at where are we in this scene?
Is it common for food to be at a funeral?
Yeah.
So she's looking way over to the wrong
Should
angle.
Should we wait for the professor to get you?
Again, this is a problem when you're dealing with a scene that is, you've got 7 people with all these different angles to try to keep eye lines and try to not to cross the 180-degree rule or not to cross it, not mistakenly cross it, but to do it in a way that's not intuitive, but not forcefully. Deliberately. It's so tricky because you've got so many angles working with here. See, now we've jumped from these 2 angles to our third angle, which is right here. So we've already kind of thrown away the idea of a 180-degree rule. Now, I did want to do a video eventually where I talk about how retro it was shot on a black magic. Yeah, I did want to talk about like how you can get away with crossing the 180-degree rule, but I think here it's more of a confusion thing because we have that angle which is across the horizontal, although yeah, we can kind of say the angle there is the slant there. It's going. You can maybe make that argument, but as you'll see, we'll jump across that in a second here. So now again, we're now establishing kind of the next angle, which is going to be the potato chip guy and the redheads. Again, I was just thrown off there. So here they are. The potato chip guy and the redhead are on the left, and the very next shot they're on the right. That's immediately confusing. Like I'm already disoriented to where everybody is in this situation. And again, it's not. I mean, you can do that. You can do that cross if you wanted to create that. Like, what the hell's going on? But this is not the time yet to do it. And then she gets her own shot by herself, where she doesn't have any like geography to help me place where she is in the scene. I mean, you have to remember that she's at the center there, okay. But again, this is like watching it after the 5th time I've seen it, and I understand the geography. Let's keep going. So here's an example. When I want to do a video on the 180-degree rule. And here's an example where you can break the 180-degree rule where it works. Is that you have a shot of her again. It's confusing where she is in the entire scheme of things, but the response shot, you're seeing her POV of grabbing that dog figure. That makes sense. That's a break of a 180-degree rule. That's perfectly okay to do, because you understand the geography, the relationship between what we're seeing and what the next shot is. And the shots work together.
No reception. Funerals always bring such bad energy.
Where'd my cursor go? There it goes. Again, like I said, the the relationship between this and this shot, I mean, now that I have it mapped out, I can understand how they are all related,
Energy.
but it's really hard. So again, same idea. She's kind of in the center, aiming, looking to the left, and now she's in the right, looking to the left. She's looking to the right, and now she's looking to the left. So it throws you way off. And then this shot here, we have nothing to set up, so we don't understand where it's coming from. Now, if you were looking really closely, you'd see her. You see that girl, the clean freak, with her gloves on. She's getting her stuff ready. But it's just kind of, it just pulls you right out. Now this is fine here. Like this, the reaction. So part of the solution might be too, is you're trying to build basically little dialogue scenes between two actors at a time. So you're never really dealing with all 7 actors at the same time. It's really just these two are interacting. These two are interacting. So you can pick up and move your 180-degree line, your action line. That's the kind of the secret with something like this, because you're never going to have, usually, at least in the way your scene is set up, it's never all 7 people talking at the same time. It's usually 2 actors interacting. So what you got to do is kind of establish your action line for those 2 actors, then bounce between the 2, and then reestablish it for the next 2 actors, bounce between the. So that's kind of the way you can get around it. Again, this is a super complicated thing to do when you have 7 people in a location like this. That's why sometimes it's like it might be better to sometimes let things play out in a master shot. You don't have to worry about stuff like that. But see here, now we've already established these 2 are kind of opposite tables. So they're looking at each other. Again, POV shot. Don't worry about action line for POV shots. But again, it's like here we're seeing the perspective of somebody. It almost works. I think it would almost look better if we saw the cleaning of the knife, the close-up from his perspective. It would kind of give us a little more entry into the scene. And I feel like I'm babbling here. See, like that's from his perspective. If we stayed with his perspective rather than getting kind of this omnipotent shot of somebody over somebody's shoulder looking in, that might help better. And I honestly, I don't like just her by herself. We don't understand how she's related to everything else.
How do you all know her?
See, like something like this, we get a whole sense of where everything is.
Since high school.
Okay,
Before
now we've
I
established
used to
that the best
learn.
friend is now talking to the raven-haired girl. It's a little bit of good
She
acting
just
here.
claimed me as her friend one day.
Although this shot here does feel just a little just out of place, because it's like we're not making that connection between she just starts looking, we're just looking randomly up.
Sat with me at lunch and started talking to me like we were friends our whole lives. Next thing you know, 30 odd years have passed and she's still my best friend.
Caboose Juice is saying aspect ratio is so fake, 4:3 the way. Excuse me. I don't think so. All right, so here's one bit of advice I can do here as far as like a practical thing you can do as far as edit here. I think what would work here.
Was my best friend.
So I notice what you're doing is you're cutting on action and you're waiting for her reaction to the potato chip guy eating his potato chip. However, the bearded guy here already gives you that reaction as an excuse to cut. So
Was my best friend.
you hear the crunch right here. The reaction right there. You can go right ahead and just jump ahead. We don't need to wait for her to react to it. We can just go to the chip right there. If you want, come back to her reacting to it. So like I'll show you. If I just pop this over here. So reaction, and you're seeing it, and then maybe she responds to that. That might just give a little more interesting shot. little more interesting kind of a flavor of that shot. Moving ahead. So that's a little bit of practical.
You know, whenever I travel to a new country, I like to bring home.
So this is really confusing here because I would have assumed that he was talking to the best friend girl. But judging by the shoulder, she's wearing the peach suit. He's talking to her. But the marriage between these shots, I get the impression that these two are related, but they're not. So that's a confusion. That's a point, again, point of confusion, eyeline kind of an issue.
Whenever I travel to a new country, I like to bring home something like that.
That's nice.
Yeah. Helps me keep track of everywhere I go.
Do you have anywhere you'd recommend?
See, now, I like what you did here because you've established a new angle, a new action line between him and the bearded guy here. I'll show you another thing here that you might want to cut.
Indonesia for sure.
Oh, nice. Anywhere in particular? Sumatra, Padang, Sulawesi?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to pick just one.
I'm not sure you need this shot here because it does feel like it's. I mean, you're establishing they're pouring wine.
Hard to pick just one.
But I don't think it's that
state.
necessary.
You know, it's hard given how large the continent is.
So here's this portion here. I feel is unnecessary because you already established that the potato chip guy, he says he knows he's been to Indonesia. He says it's a continent, and like okay, he doesn't really know what he's talking about. But then we get this kind of where both characters drink. But I almost feel like you don't need that.
You know, it's hard given how large the continent is.
Because we already get that point, and then the following line he says, "Well, you know, my girlfriend's from wherever. It's not Sumatra, but my girlfriend's from so and so." And we've already established that the potato chip guy doesn't know what he's talking about, and maybe we need to establish the fact that the bearded guy has a girlfriend who's from Sumatra. So we want to keep that detail. Just get rid of this little drinking section. I'll show you, and it actually works just fine. So we'll just get rid of the drinking part. I know this is exciting watching me edit here.
You know, it's hard given how large the continent is.
My girlfriend comes from West Sumatra. It's called Padang. Have you
See, we got rid of all that busyness of the drink. It ties the two ideas closer together. So you don't necessarily need all that side stuff. Again, maybe you do if your story's deeper, but I'm just going what I see here.
Definitely not the name.
Because you want that to be one point rather than kind of two desperate points. There's that classic pig shot. You gotta have that. So I kind of feel we spent a little too much time on this. Because we've already established before while she was cleaning her fork that she is a neat freak. So I think you could probably cut this down a little bit.
Sorry, I just need things to be clean.
I'll just pull up Rigel's chat here. Real basic anchor is shoulders. If we're looking over guys' one shoulder in the reverse, we should be looking over two shoulders and assuming they're facing each other. And what's confusing, however, is when you have 7 characters, you don't know exactly whose shoulder you're looking over. That's why every time I see a table scene, like a scene where it takes place on a dining room table, it's really well edited. There's one in the show Californication. I was just blown away. The excitement in the particular scene with a table, and it was just cut so magnificently that you understood the geography, that you understood like how everything worked, and it had multiple characters, you know, yelling at each other. It's probably the hardest thing to block visually for a camera, is a table scene, because there's so many different pitfalls of, you know, action lines and stuff like that. I like that little effect. I think that's a visual effect, but that's pretty well done if it's a visual effect. Okay, so now when we get to the exciting part, or the action part, it's now you can go crazy and cross every single action line you want, because at this point you want to create a sense of confusion. What is going on? You know, it's okay to be cutting over here and here. You don't necessarily need to know, okay, this person's sitting, who doesn't matter. It's you know, now you can use the energy of the cut to create some disorientation in the audience. I think you linger too long on her in that shot. Like, we don't really need her to just be looking around like that. Like, I trim that like considerably. Like, just get rid of half of it, maybe. You know, if we just get rid of that much, so we keep that energy of the edit going. You get the sense she's looking around. You don't need to see her scan the room. Okay, for her reaction shot, I think you linger on her too long before she gets the bloody shot. I won't be crude. She gets a little too long on her before she actually gets hit with blood. See, like, right? I just took out like about a half a second. I feel like that connects the idea. You're not sitting there. Because for the half a second, you're wondering, why am I seeing this shot? But you're linking this idea of pulling the thing out of the... and then boom, she gets hit with blood. Maybe if you had a little more of just like taking out that shard of glass, that might help a little bit. And again, maybe a little too long on her again. Because we want to keep that edit going. We want to keep that energy going. This is an exciting part of the short, right? I think also she needs to be cut down a little bit. I think we're relying too much on some. I realize she probably has a greater thing in the story, in your bigger overarching story, but at this point we don't know that. And there's a short we don't know. We don't know that idea. So maybe just shorten that up. Again, I'm not being super precise here, but I'm just saying, or you know, just maybe. I can't tell you because I'm not informed by the whole idea here.
It's gonna be okay.
But by making it a long shot, you kind of you drain the energy from the edit and from the scene. Here's.
Dance with angels and dream of friends.
Okay, now your music is leveling off. The excitement's kind of, the shock is over. You can let it on. You can leave it on here for her for a little bit. This works.
Are you alright?
Again, maybe cut that out. We don't. I mean, this is booby shot basically at the point. Just get her up, cut out. And here's another shot again. Tighten up this shot here because he's leaving frame, and we just kind of sit there for like 3 or 4 frames of just kind of a lousy composition. So once he leaves the frame, once he starts heading out, just go to the next shot. See, it ties it right away. You don't need to see him exit the frame, only to re-enter the frame. Again, it's one of those things too. When I was working with this editor, sometimes you do want to repeat action. Sometimes, like when you do a cut, like an action, you know, you cut on the action, and the next cut finishes the action. So sometimes you do want a double action. Sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't want to do that at all. You know, not everything needs to be necessarily exactly the geometry. Again, this is movies where we're creating a fantasy. We're not necessarily documenting exactly what happened on the scene.
It's okay. You're covered in blood. I'm trying to help you.
I think this works here too. Like I think after we get past the, it's good. Good little effect there. Chekhov's gun, right? Chekhov's gun. If you show a gun in the first act, it's got to go off in the second act. So the guy has to notice the sharp point in the first part of the short in order for it to pay off in the end, right? So I think this works here. So I think everything else here is solid. Like I think everything else works really well.
Call an ambulance.
Probably take that back. You probably shorten that up a little bit. It's a little like we get the point. The phone's not working. Just get to the next point. Phone's not working. Everyone's looking freaked out. There's a dead girl. What's going on? See, yeah, and then she's doing the phone thing. So we already get the idea the phone's not working. Dudes can't get out. The door's locked. Yeah, then girls sing. The flames, they're burning my side of my face. Again, I think, yeah, tighten that up. We get the idea. The next part. Smoke machine has arrived. Yeah, I like this. This looks good. And the smoke machine, really good effect on that. You can take, and I love that little audio cut there. That's well done there. Only thing here, I would say maybe some sort of, I don't know what you're trying to, I don't know what the full story is, but usually like a screen like that, because it looks like a security camera footage. It would have like a timestamp, might have like recording or some little doohickeys on the screen that kind of show that this guy is studying. So I imagine he's studying. I'm not sure. Again, I don't know the whole story, but I think he's studying what's going on. So maybe something that would give a little bit more of just a little something to it. But that's it. Yeah. She got to the point too, somebody says. Yeah, so, I mean, not bad. Like, well, I think, again, it's super hard to do, especially when you have that many characters around a table. It's like, it's just I don't know, what am I doing here? It's just super hard to maintain eye lines. I think that the trick has got to be to figure out how you're going to go from one, basically break up the scene into smaller interactions and then make those interactions work and then figure out a way to get from one interaction to another interaction. And also sometimes, you do that with like a pan or something. I got Clue vibes. Yeah, I know. That's kind of what I was thinking too. And I actually watched Clue not that long ago because I was on a Julianne Warren bender after watching Cinderella, taking a substance and thinking her neck was way too long. So the other thing, I think, I don't know if the concept really gets tried because the name of the film is Aversion, and I think we only get one person who has an aversion. And I know you probably have like all the other backstories written, but I only get a sense of only one person who has an aversion to anything, which is the lady clean freak cleaning her knife and spoon. So I feel like we're not getting enough of a inciting incident. That it doesn't work enough as well as a short in itself to justify it yet. Like I mean, once we got to the point where the insect, I think that part's the most intriguing. The insect landing on the food, and then the first victim being killed, and the steam. Like that's intriguing. The part about the funeral, it doesn't go anywhere enough for the short. Now I realize again, the short is supposed to be for the whole entire feature, but it doesn't. I'm not getting sold on the feature. I'm just seeing kind of a setup, but I'm not getting enough to go to the next portion. Anyhow, so that's it. I think these are fun to do. I hope you guys are getting something out of it. Even I'm not trying to. I hope I'm not being mean. I don't think I'm being mean. I hope I'm trying to give at least as much constructive criticism and something to work for, work toward improving the craft. Again, if I were to make it, I'd probably make a lot of mistakes too, and I could easily sit here and break through and go through shot by shot and probably go through a lot of things. Oh, the beard guy has a phobia of sharp things. Okay, I didn't get that. I didn't. In fact, I saw him put the knife away. I kind of thought he was going to save that knife for later when he goes and murders everybody or something. So I didn't quite get that concept. I'm getting a clue vibe from the multiple people that can really help you here. I just don't have a professor insight and really know why they are there. Oh, from the actual actors. Yeah. No, I mean it is. It's Clue. If you want to go a little bit more old school, it's Agatha Christie. It's, Poirot. It's Murder on the Orient Express and 10 Little Indians, which we won't talk about the original name of that. It's a very mystery, locked in a mansion, and it's 10 Little Indians, really what it is, locked on an island. So, question, Rigel asked if he uses storyboards. Storyboards are an interesting. I mean, storyboards will help you out if you're trying to figure out this stuff. It's for something like this, it might help. I think the problem with storyboards is most people don't know how to draw them in a way that mimics reality. So I know I'm of the opinion, and again, I might rustle people's opinions about this. I don't think storyboards are essential for filmmakers starting out, because I don't think filmmakers understand how to draw a storyboard, because they'll draw a storyboard, and it's like, well, yeah, but you can't create that shot based on their location, based on your own, based on the perspective. You don't have those lenses that you can't really pull that off. I know when I draw storyboards, like sometimes well, I'm way off. I'm just trying to get a sense of, angles. And then something like this too, where your storyboard ends up being basically the same panel over and over and over again. Again, I don't know any way of doing it other than just to go sit down and do it. Just to sit down and go and do it. Daniel says, I love the short film critiques, but then again, no one has yet critiqued my comments. Which one? I didn't see your comment. Murder by Death is a great mystery comedy with table scenes. Oh, okay. Murder by Death. That's an interesting title for it. Like I said, there's a lot of, if you watch, I don't know, the one that sticks out in my head is Californication. I wouldn't know exactly what episode, but there are so many, whenever I see a table scene with multiple people in it and it works really well, I'm blown away at the amount of the thought process of it. Again, I'm just trying to think back on different table scenes I've seen, Again, I think part of that is trying to break it down into smaller interactions, and then knowing your geography in terms of those interactions, and then linking those smaller interactions to other interactions that are happening at the same table. I think that's how you would approach it. Again, I've not sat down and done a serious top-down look at them. Do a floor plan rather than a storyboard. Yeah, like what I did here with with this map here, basically kind of a floor plan. But I didn't even go through all these. Okay, so yeah. So I put all the effort to documenting all these camera angles, and I didn't even necessarily go through all of them. I think that was more just for me to kind of visualize. But you can kind of see what happens here is the camera angles tend to kind of just cluster all over the place. There's no real rhyme or reason. But again, that might just be my drawing of it. See, like, well, you know, again, there's multiple little scenes going on. My audio's still right. Yep, my audio's still going. There's multiple different scenes going on, and so it may not be a fair representation to show you all the different camera angles. Go back to me. Again, super tricky to do. I'm not like, don't think that this is something like, oh, this is something absolutely, if you were like super first grade, like first year filmmaker, you would not understand how to do. John, what font is that? I've been doing some comic books. So that font is a, what is it? It's a comic book font that I've been working with. So I had that font up and ready because I was writing some comic books. It's called, where is it? I'm going to get you the name of that thing. It's like Blambot Casual is the name of the font. Retro says, honestly, I got a controversial opinion. If people really wanted to prove at storyboarding, they should invest time in art. You learn perspective, shot composition, and build a visual library. That's not a controversial opinion. That's actually a very valid opinion. You know, like most people that hire storyboard artists. They're not. Those are guys that actually, you know, specialize in storyboard drawing because they'll help. You know, like Saul Bass. He's a storyboard artist and he's a graphic designer too. He's an artist, right? Like storyboard. I mean, sure, you can draw storyboards that are stick figures, absolutely. And if it helps you kind of get the sense of what you want to do, go for it. I'm not saying don't storyboard. I'm just saying you don't need to storyboard everything. But for some things, you know, if it helps, it helps. I can't wait for drone cameras. They would be able to flock wherever you wanted. I know people will disagree with me, but I think learning art will help anyone who is a film artist in general. People who disagree with you are wrong. Like that's the old days. Like I used to post a lot of pictures of celebrities on Filmmaker IQ. People would always complain, what does that do with filmmaking? Well, learning art, looking at different art is a good way to learn filmmaking. I mean, I've learned so much like studying. There's a video of mine way back. I don't know if it's still up, but I don't know if it's not getting much numbers. I did a like analysis of a Scarlett Johansson photograph from a photo fashion shoot, and it was, you know, it's incredibly intuitive. How's the tooth this week? It'll be gone tomorrow. It's getting pulled tomorrow. It's okay. I don't feel too bad right now. I think I was able to clean it out sufficiently where it's not like bugging me. All right, so that's everyone. Thank Anthony for that, for letting us chew apart his film, and hopefully we get many more. Hopefully maybe do some more with that. All right, so let's talk about the Batman. Like I have to pull it up every time, right? You guys don't know already that I have a Batman bust on my wall of cool stuff. So I watched the Batman, and you know what? Wonderful experience being in a movie theater. It was completely sold out except for like the first 2 rows, which no one should sit there. But anyways, it was sold out. It was good to be back to a theater and seeing a movie with other people. I think overall, I very much enjoyed the Batman. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Batman, but I really did enjoy it. And I would say it's probably my favorite non-Nolan-esque Batman, because I think that there's a place in my heart for The Dark Knight. I'm not sure I think that what's the last one? Batman Rises, the last Nolan one. I think I'd actually prefer to watch this one rather than the last one with Bane, because this does have some cool ideas. It does a really good job with the characters. I really like, you know, obviously the Penguin was great. Super chat, thank you, Daniel. Thank you for Seize the Day. Learned a lot. Also, can I get your opinion on Brandon Sanderson's book at some point? I don't know who Brandon Sanderson is, so I don't have an opinion on it. Sorry about that. Oh yeah, by the way, if you want me to critique your film, keep it around 5 minutes. send me an email at filmmakeriq.com. Just look it up, go to the contact, and just send a contact form. And yeah, you just put your film somewhere online. It could be anywhere, YouTube or Vimeo. If you can password protect it if you don't want people to see it just yet. But send it to me, and we will take a look at it. And there was another person that sent it, and I'm probably not going to critique it. Let's see how it goes if no one sends anything next week. But the other one I was submitted was really funny, but I liked it a lot. It may not. I think it works better. It works better. I don't know how much to say about it. I think because it's such a goofy thing that you can't really. I'm not sure. It was really well done. Anyhow, if you got other films you want me to take a look at, send me an email at filmmakeriq.com. But I actually hope you guys are enjoying. I hope you guys are enjoying the critiques, because I'm learning something. Believe me, it's just as much for me as it is for you guys. Dude, you make such interesting content. I hope so. I hope I'm not just pouring more gasoline on the dumpster fire that is the internet. So anyhow, Batman. Talk some more about Batman. You guys are interested in Batman, but I am. I am a big fan of all the. I say this all the time. I sit and watch all the Batman animated movies that Warner Brothers puts out, because they can range from crazy, right? So I've watched like Hush and The Long Halloween, which I'm told I don't remember much from Hush, but Long Halloween I really liked, and the Batman draws a lot from those two particular stories, partly because they have to do with the Riddler. The Long Halloween has something to do with a serial killer, which is not the Riddler, by the way. I guess that's spoiler alert, maybe not. But it really draws from those. It makes Batman more of a detective. He's more of a force trying to solve a crime, rather than like just beat everybody up and just use technology to just Deus Ex Machina out of everything. So it does draw from that a lot. I know there were some critiques about the Batman not feeling like Batman, because he's such a. But that's the whole point, I think, because this movie takes place in year 2 of Batman. He's still like vengeful and hateful from dealing with his death of his parents, which thank God Matt Reeves, we didn't have to watch another version of the Waynes getting killed. Like, thank God you stayed away from that. We all know the backstory. We all get it. We've seen millions and millions of interpretations of that backstory. So, I'm glad we didn't get that, and we allowed the audience to just go along with Batman for who he is in year 2, and he's still kind of figuring out who he is. At the very beginning, he says, and this is not a spoiler because it's in the trailers. He says, there's a classic line, in the original Michael Keaton movie, "Who are you?" "I'm Batman." Right? That's the original line. But in this movie, "Who are you?" "I'm Vengeance." So he starts off as Vengeance. It's a very important part of the story, is that he starts off as Vengeance. And he eventually will, and again, not spoilers, but he eventually grows through baptism to become more than just Vengeance. And that's part of the kind of the mythos of the entire film. It is, however, a little long. So the Batman does have a little bit of I remember I called it the Lord of the Rings syndrome, where it does tend to kind of like have a couple multiple endings that, you could have ended it there, but we go a little longer. You could have ended it there. So the reason why I wouldn't put it as my favorite Batman experience is because it doesn't have necessarily that big climatic ending where it's like, oh yeah, baby. It doesn't quite have that. It leaves the ending a little bit more subtle, and it doesn't have that just knock your socks off kind of ending. That's the only difference between like that and why I like maybe like the Dark Knight better, because the Dark Knight had an ending that was more like, holy moly, it's like knock your socks off ending. This kind of ends a little bit, more subdued. And not that I didn't. Again, don't say I didn't like it. I absolutely loved it. I liked it a lot. It is just a little bit long. Slitspit says, a long movie, my bane. Yes. Now tell me, Batman, what did you have for breakfast? That's halfway between Bane and Sean Connery. Sean Connery is Bane. There you go. Listen here, Batman. Listen here, Batman. Now I've got my marks on you. Now, Moneypenny. Okay, this is not John doing his impersonations. This is horrible. Rigel7 says he's got news. The province is supporting the construction of a soundstage currently in production to have convert warehouses and stuff. Cool. Just remember that. Here's the thing. Also, I mean, I'm not trying to dump water on you guys. I guess I do. I like to dump water on people's. But remember, sound stages are not. I mean, sound stages are sound stages. You can just all you gotta do is take a warehouse and turn it into a sound stage pretty easily. So don't think just because you build it doesn't mean they will come. You're gonna have to offer like tax incentives and all that stuff to go with it. Like I know one of the cities I'm working with is having a real big push for filming to attract film companies out, and we're pretty close to LA, so it's not that hard of a sell to try to get people out to film here. The problem is just because you push them doesn't mean they will come. You know, that's the thing. So, well, I mean, good luck. Just just don't get too excited about sound stages. I mean, that's pretty easy to do. The ending with the trucks also came out of nowhere. The build-up would have made the ending so much better. Are you talking about which Batman are you talking about? Because they both had trucks in them. Oh, Lighthouse is made there. Cool. Where are you, Rigel? Let's put it that way. Don't give an exact location, just like a state. What's my opinion of virtual productions? I talked about this a while ago, and I think it was worth talking about again. Not sold on them. Like I think virtual productions are the same issue that green screen has, because people think, oh my God, virtual production. We can just shoot anything we want in a virtual setting, right? It's the same attitude when we had, oh my God, green screen. We just green screen whatever we want back there. It's the same. Unfortunately, it's the same thing. I mean, it's useful. It's helpful. It obviously gives the actors something to work off of. But in the end, there's so much. It's such a technology-heavy solution to a problem. Which, if you had the money to shoot in a diner, you have probably. I mean, if you had the money to shoot a virtual production in a diner, you probably have the money to shoot in a diner. It's just a logistics things might be. Logistically, it might be easier to shoot virtually. But again, for like the small filmmaker, like no, it would be cheaper to actually shoot location most of the time. Yeah. Do I have a rank list of favorite to least favorite Batman movies, or you're just two favorite and two least favorite? My two favorite Batmans are The Dark Knight and if I'm going to stick with live action, I think the Batman might be tied with Batman Begins. I haven't seen Batman Begins in a long time. Not that I didn't like the last one that Nolan did. I thought it was fine. It just didn't have the staying power. Although we all gotta thank Hardy for that voice of Bane, because that voice is. I love the Harley Quinn show, and the Harley Quinn show takes that Bane voice, that Tom Hardy Bane voice, and just runs with it. And it's hilarious what they do with that. And Nova Scotia, so that's cool. Yeah, Nova Scotia. Well, Nova Scotia is the opposite side of Canada from Vancouver, so anyhow. Oh, good. So, did I answer the question about virtual productions? I think I did. Do you think movie theaters, small cultural ones, and big franchises will survive the next 100 years? Yes, I think so. They won't be the same, though. So I'm doing a production of Cinderella right now, and it is a community theater production. So the actors range. We have a couple really talented actors in it. And then we have a range of community folks too. So it's a mix, right? And I think theater has survived. I mean, it doesn't look the same as it did like 100 years ago, but I think it's going to be around. Like I don't think I think there's going to still be a need for a communal movie experience in some level. I like take for instance watching a comedy. Like watching a comedy in a movie theater versus watching it at home by yourself. Totally different experiences. Totally different experiences. Let's see. Asking, what is your background? You seem to be heavily involved with local independent film. Let you guys discuss that. Crossing my fingers that general audiences will watch more art house films within 100 years. Don't count on it. Don't count on it. Because I'll be honest with you. What makes you think people watched art house films in the last 100 years? They didn't. Like art house has always been art houses. Art house has always been relegated to small audiences. I mean, let's be honest. Like how many? I was just reading up about Salo. I don't think I'll want to watch that movie. I know I did donate money to the Academy of Arts and Motion Sciences back when they were building their museum, and then COVID hit and they didn't open the museum. And I'm like, whatever. So I get the emails, and they're doing the Academy. They're doing an Academy screening of Salo, 120 Days of Sodom, and I was reading up on it. And like, I don't want to watch this. I just don't want to watch this. I'm sorry. I just don't want to watch it. So art house films are always going to be super niche. Now the good thing about the internet is that I think more and more people have access to art house films, or at least art house discussions about art house films. So you can be living in like Wahoo, Nebraska, and be able to follow everything with regards to the latest Criterion release, So, let's see. Greetings from Germany. Jawohl. Not Buenos Aires, that's Spanish. I don't know how to say hello. Auf Wiedersehen is goodbye. Guten Tag. My last name's Hess. I should know some German, right? Like, come on. Schlitz says I'm on edibles and smokable right now. Well, that's not. I think you've mentioned that's the case usually on my live streams. I think I have to be careful with the edibles because I get paranoid when I'm on them, and if I have a slightly stuffy nose, I feel like I can't breathe. I get super paranoid. It's weird. It's sad. Don't do it. Don't be around John. Although I think like they always say, when somebody is either high or drunk, they become more that person they are. I hope I'm not honking my own horn. I become super silly when I'm in that. I'm just like super silly. Super silly. I'm super serial. Super silly. Anyhow. All right. So anything else you guys want to talk? So also, now we're deep around it. I won't get in trouble. I tried watching West Side Story, the Spielberg version, and I got in trouble for saying some of these things on Facebook. Well, I would call it get in trouble, but I was watching a little bit of. I just put it on because I was in the middle of setting up my 3D printer at home. So I just put it on and then tried to kind of peek over a little bit. I didn't like it. I did not like West Side Story. Like what I feel like, again, and this is going to be my opinion on this, and I know this is not shared by people that are, shall we say, on the further left side of the spectrum than I am. I wouldn't call myself super right wing, but more center right. I feel with West Side Story, they tried to wokeify the plot, and the thing is, West Side Story is already woke. It's a woke story. It doesn't necessarily need to be even more woke. And I think what they did to it was they made the Puerto Ricans basically the good guys. Like they were the victims, and the Jets were the white supremacists who, hated change. And I think that was a big mistake. And I know, and it was deliberate because apparently the people on my Facebook, when I said this, people kind of took umbrage with the fact that I was saying this. Oh, you're lame. Rigel says, I'll respond to this because I want to get some of her opinions. Listening to Bennington when West Side Story was new, Ron suggested the problem with it was it appeals mostly to an audience that's dead. Oh, yeah, the actual movie itself. So the thing is, so West Side Story, about my background with it, I grew up loving it, listened the heck out of it, but with me in musicals, sometimes if I listen to it too much, it gets ingrained in my head, and I eventually stop wanting to listen to it. So I've not wanted to listen to West Side Story. Yeah. Normally I would agree with you, but in this case, you haven't known racism in the 50s, haven't you? See, the thing is, though, in this movie, the musical was written in the 50s. So it had a racism. The problem is the Sharks is making the Sharks basically innocent, which kind of defeats the purpose of the story, right? The story is based on Romeo and Juliet. The Maria chick was literally my draw when I was young. So the story is based on Romeo and Juliet, and in Romeo and Juliet, the Capulets and the Montagues, no one can tell the difference between the two. They're literally identical. They just hate on each other because you don't need any reason to hate on each other. And that to me that was the much more powerful statement. Now, when it was updated in the 50s, now going back to the history of West Side Story, when Bernstein wrote it originally, they didn't pick a race. They didn't have, it wasn't like a reference to anything. They actually originally had Maria was like a Jewish girl, and Tony was another dude, was a dude from the block. And it wasn't until the 50s you had the called the Zoot Suit riots, which is a real thing. Even though I grew up in the 90s hearing Zoot Suit riot, it's a real thing. It's the Chicanos in L.A. had a riot with the U.S. servicemen. They attached the Puerto Rican angle to it. But again, I don't want. The thing is, the problem I had with it was I don't want to just scapegoat one side. I think that lessens the message of West Side Story. Like West Side Story works best, I think, when it's like, why are you two fighting each other? It doesn't make any sense. To apply the racism angle to it, I think just diminishes the message. The message to me is more like, the message is more violence is stupid. And the little things that you guys create between, okay, they're Puerto Ricans, they're the whites. And again, I also the issue I had when I first saw the first scene was the police treated the Jets way too kid glove. Like they treated the Jets as if, oh, they're just boys being boys. Like no, back then there was plenty of racism against the Polacks, plenty of racism against the Italians, plenty of racism against the Jews. White people don't need an excuse to hate. Don't just need skin color. They can figure any reason. White people, black people, brown people, all people don't need much of an excuse to hate each other, right? So that's why I felt like it made the message smaller. Like what they were trying to do to the story, trying to update it to modern sensibilities, makes the story less universal. Like I said, these hardworking immigrant Puerto Ricans, they're trying to hold down a job, but they wouldn't be joining street gangs if they're holding down. It doesn't quite work. And then I'm not a big fan of Spielberg's. I forget the DP he uses, but the visual style of the film. It didn't. I don't particularly. It looked like Indiana Jones 4. It looked like Crystal Skull, and if it looks like Crystal Skull, it's like, it's a little muted. Like a musical should have a little more. Again, my opinion, a musical should be more vibrant and more interesting. Now, like something like Into the Heights, like that's. I didn't love the movie, but the movie felt more genuine. Like that, if you wanted a story about Puerto Ricans immigration, that felt more like grounded. Again, what are your comments here? I mean, I'm not even read all this stuff. So bitch, do mention that the girl that playing Maria, beautiful. Like, there's a lot of people like pushing back about, oh, she's the first Latina Snow White. She's gonna be cast as the next Snow White. And people are like, oh, why would they make Snow White? Dude, look at her. She's perfect as Snow White. Doesn't matter what her ethnicity. She's freaking perfect as Snow White. She'd be perfect. There's no question about it. So anyhow, the guy that played Tony, kind of boring. I didn't really. But again, Tony, the character, is kind of boring. The dance numbers, fantastic. The music, beautiful. Like the what they do with the orchestrations, wonderful. Like spotless. I mean, that's perfect. It almost goes without saying. That's just so well done. But again, I think somebody was saying the problem with the movie is its target audience is dead. Yeah, kind of. I guess the other kind of funny thing about it was, so they added a part where the police show up and the Puerto Ricans like they scare the Puerto Ricans off, and then the Puerto Ricans start singing like this Puerto Rican song, like a national, I don't know if it's an anthem, but it's a folk song, right? And it sounds very Puerto Rican, because it is. But only goes to highlight the fact that Bernstein's score sounds nothing like Hispanic music. Like that. I mean, we're not trying to like denigrate Bernstein's music, because again, I listened to it and I grew up on it. I loved it, but it is not Hispanic sounding music. It is not, has none. The Paso Doble has no salsa. Mambo is barely. It's more Spanish maybe, but it's so. I mean, it's look, it's great, but it's not. But by inserting that authentic Hispanic song, just goes to show you that the rest of the score doesn't even resemble Hispanic. So see, Shane's saying now, dang, that Snow White is fine. Yeah, she's great. She's absolutely, and the lady that plays Anita is actually fabulous. Like, all the actors are fabulous. I just wish they would have, like, again, I didn't watch the whole thing, so maybe they made the sharks out to be the bad guys toward the end. But I just wish it wasn't like, oh, it's the white people's problem. The white people are a bunch of dicks. Everyone's a bunch of dicks. The world is a bag of dicks. Everyone's evil. Everyone's got hate in their hearts. Believe me, it ain't just white people, because white people would have, look at the English. They've hated the Catholics, hated the Protestants, and to anybody else that would look exactly the same color. People just hate each other. That tribalism is the fact, and it's gonna, nowadays it's gonna be like the vaxxers versus the anti-vaxxers. People don't need any reason to hate on each other. That's just the truth. So, I wish it wasn't just like, well, it's because of racism. It's because of white supremacy. No, it's because people are just dicks. So, Daniel says, agreed, she'll be an awesome Snow White character. She'll be fit perfectly. Honestly, she would have been a great Belle with her. Yeah, like, she's not fine. She's a great singer. I think that's her voice. She's a find. She really is. Now, and if you want to talk about her ethnicity, she's, I believe, Polish and Colombian, which, I mean, look at her. She's gorgeous. So anyhow, I mean, like, yeah, I really don't want to get to the point where we can't just cast people based on their qualities rather than having to cast everybody on their ethnicities. Like, oh, we need a person to play a Puerto Rican. They must be from Puerto Rico. It's like, that's small-minded. It's just small-minded. And the Russians. Ugh. Politics is definitely about tribalism. Couldn't agree more. Yeah. Yeah, and I was reading a tweet the other day, and it's unfortunately gotten more addicted to Twitter, reading people. But tribalism, maybe at one point in our evolutionary history, tribalism made sense. Like back when we were flinging rocks at each other and beating each other with clubs, tribalism might have made more sense back then, because it was a fight for. But in the internet day of global connected communities, tribalism is worse than it's worse for everything. And if that's woke, I'm woke, but and that's the problem too. That's the problem with woke stuff is woke stuff comes from a good place most of the time. The question is, where does it go too far? And no one's willing to have that discussion. Or at least the wokesters aren't willing to have the discussion of where is the line where it doesn't make any more sense. Like it always, it always makes sense. You want to be inclusive. You want to have diversity of thoughts and opinions. Diversity of thoughts and opinions, right? Diversity of thought. Although, it seems like some of the woke crowd are against the diversity of the thought part. Anyhow. What about that Viking show that has a black woman where it made more sense a strong white dude with long red hair, yeah, woke. That is unfortunately just silliness, yeah. At what point, it's like having an issue casting Ghost in the Shell with Scarlett Johansson. Ghost in the Shell, which is even lesser because Ghost in the Shell is an android figure, so it doesn't necessarily need to be Japanese. But here we got a Viking. You're going to cast a person that's not a Viking. That's okay because white people, whatever. Again, but then again, if it's like a Thor movie, like I don't have a problem with black Vikings in a Thor movie because it's a fantasy. It's fine, and it represents a visual of like modern times. Okay, I can get that. And again, maybe I'm being inconsistent. That's fine. I'm gonna be okay with being inconsistent with stuff. All right. These days in this century, politics is about money. Politics has always kind of been about money, hasn't it? It's always been about asserting power over people. So many English-speaking Bibles and their accents. Yeah, why is it like and they're all English accents? I'm trying to think. What my point is. I don't know. Yeah, they never see a non-English, like the Bible folks being more like, well, they would have been more like Mesopotamian, so they would have been kind of olive-skinned, I guess. What is money anymore if there is nothing to base it on? Yeah, I mean, money is basically a psychological phenomenon. It's just we have valued it as a certain thing. Like I'm not a gold standard guy. Again, maybe I'm not red pilled or whatever pill that takes to get you to the bring back gold standard. But I think floating systems makes more sense. And I would kind of think that the floating systems kind of represents more of the growth that's gone on in the world. But again, I'm not really here to discuss monetary policy because I'm not quite there yet. Uh-oh. Poor casting example. I saw an ad for Tiger King's Joe versus Carol. The actors don't look or act anything like the people from the documentary. Yeah, that's a shame. Joe versus Carol. That's going to be interesting. That's because if we learn anything from Bedazzled, the OG one, not the remake, God is English. Oh, I didn't know that. I don't remember the original Bedazzled. That's not the Brendan Fraser version, is it? Miss Beautiful. You're talking about the lady from Austin Powers, Elizabeth something or other. I follow her on Instagram. She's like 60 something now, and she looks like smoking hot. Like it's insane. She don't crack. English don't crack, I guess. Whatever. English don't Binglish. I don't know how to say it. I'm getting tired, and I'm probably going to put my foot in my mouth and get canceled for something for saying some stuff like that. Oh no, the Dudley Moore version, John, not the Brendan Fraser. What are you thinking about? I never saw the Dudley Moore version. I don't think I even seen I never even watched the Brendan Fraser version. I saw like bits and pieces of it. Lord of the Rings and the Ring of Power. What's your take? Don't care. Just, I am not. It takes a lot for me to get interested in fantasy, and like I got into Game of Thrones. I understood and I appreciated the last season. I recognize the severe error problems with the last season, but I appreciate where they're trying to go and what they were trying to say, or I think what they thought George R. R. Martin was trying to say with his entire series, and I think I liked that part of it. But that's why I got into Game of Thrones, is because of that. I don't really care about Lord of the Rings. Like I watched the 3 movies, and I couldn't tell you what happened other than like the bird took Frodo and flew him over. Like there's that scene from Clerks 2 where I never saw Clerks 2. I just saw that scene where he's like, let me show you let me explain to you what Lord of the Rings is. Oh, I got a ring. Boop. The end. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just not that big a fan. Fantasy takes me a long time to get into fantasy. Like it just, I don't, I played Witcher. I liked the Witcher game for a while. I like more of a darker fantasy, but yeah, like you can get me much. I can get hooked a lot quicker in like film noir. Like film noir got me. That's why I love what's that movie? My brain is so bad. Nightmare Alley. I love Nightmare Alley because film noir is like, oh, got my attention. Would you be willing to remake 12 Angry Men? Yes, I would. The movie would be awesome with a new take on modern day. I agree. So it wouldn't be 12 Angry Men, wouldn't it? We can't have all men. We got to have some women in it. I think so. So 12 Angry Men is a great example. So like 12 Angry Men would have been considered woke when it came out because it came from a liberal like equity kind of stance, and it was purely political. It was purposely political. It wanted to be political, and it started off as a television show, a television series, and mini series. So I think it absolutely should evolve with the times. I don't think 12 Angry Men necessarily needs to be men. You should definitely change the characters, and I think I would be great with 12 Angry Men if it took a fair look at the situation. That's the problem I think with so much of what is, again, back then it wouldn't have, 12 Angry Men when it first came out wouldn't have been fair, right? It has a political agenda, a political angle, and a political bent to it. I think it's just more courageous to watch media that isn't just waving the most obvious flags. Like it is not courageous to take a stand against racism. That's not courageous. It just isn't. And are you saying that it's courageous to take a stand for racism? It would be. It absolutely would be courageous if you want to take a stand for racism. That would be courageous. Now, that's the kind of stuff that got Bill Maher canceled for saying that. But I think it would be more courageous to say racism is bad, but be careful of who you buy your anti-racism from. Be careful of the people what people are selling in the terms of racism. So, I'm going to get a lot of crap for that. I feel like I have to censor myself because I'm afraid of backlash, but I shouldn't be. I mean, I'm just speaking of this stuff. Booncheck says the new Batman was terrible. Unnecessary use of anamorphic drunk focus puller. Lighting was so plastic, so off. Seems like it wasn't a single HMI there. All LED. Yeah, sure. The new Batman actually sucks. He's on a tear. He wants everyone to know. He hates the Batman. It really sucks. I don't get people hyping it. Unnecessarily anamorphic drunk focus puller. He just wrote that again. Bad, bad, bad. I disagree. I don't think it's bad. I liked it a lot. I don't, like I said, I don't hype it. I agree. There's a lot of hype for it. People say, "Oh, it's the best thing." It's good. It's good. I think it's a good installment because I love Batman. I devour Batman, but I think it's a good addition to the pantheon of Batman. It's like I appreciate what it does. Anyhow, I think it would be a social suicide to make a courageous stand for racism. Yeah, and let's be honest. Can we? You might be you can clip my content out and say, well, John says you should stand for. No. It's a courageous stand to stand for racism. Yes, it's courageous. It's also stupid and wrong, right? Now, hopefully, if somebody clips this stream out and hears me saying, take a stand for racism, they're going to clip out the part where I say, it's also stupid and wrong, because racism is horrible. We all agree with that. That's why it's not courageous to say racism is horrible, because we all agree it's awful, you know? Oh, I forgot about the Batman Lego movies. So I would put Lego Batman probably number 3. It's not really Batman. It's a parody of Batman, but it's so good. I love Lego Batman. I know now I'm schizophrenic between two different topics here. Why did you like the Batman? Sorry, first message tried to delete. Just hopped on here. I like the Batman. I talked about it earlier because it's a different take on it. It's a Batman. It's very similar to the takes to like Hush and The Long Halloween. I didn't hate I like the cinematography. I thought it had that dreariness to it. I dug it. And I like the characterizations. I liked what they did with the performance. I think the performances are stellar. I'm trying to think, there's not a performance I don't like. The Catwoman is Zoe Kravitz. She's perfect. She's really good as Catwoman. I think she threads that line between sexy, playful, and dangerous pretty well. Penguin was the best Penguin you've seen in a movie theater. Like he's really good. I won't talk about the other baddie in it, but and the Riddler feels the most Riddler, like the comic book style Riddler there is. Who always pays taxes? Not Lego Batman. Lego Batman was really good. Robert Pattinson seems like he's going to be good. Robert Pattinson is proving to the world he's more than Edward Cullen. Like he's on a bent. He's like, guys, dude, I'm not sparkly. Take me seriously. He's good. He really is good. I appreciate how DC isn't afraid to reimagine characters. I think the thing about Batman is he's so like I can't think of a single other pop culture character that is as like malleable as Batman is. Like there is no I mean Spider-Man to an extent, we had the Spider-Man universe, the Spider-Verse and all that, so you can play with themes of Spider-Man, but Batman is so, and the realization that Batman is so malleable is if you actually go and you watch Ninja Batman. Ninja Batman will blow your mind. Like, what? This is insane. Ninja Batman is the most far out there. And then there's a steampunk Batman animated movie. There's all the different animated, there's a couple out there that are anthologies of Batman. Anthology Batman. Speaking of anthologies, I'll get to that point in a little bit. There's a couple anthology Batmans that are showing different shorts of Batman and different artists' interpretation of Batman. They all pretty much work. They are really good. But Batman, it's even more malleable than James Bond is. Like James Bond, everybody can play. You can have Idris Elba play James Bond and it'd still work, right? You don't necessarily need to be a white dude playing James Bond. He could be Scottish. He could be English. He could be Idris Elba. It would work. But Batman is. It's become an interesting legend. And I don't think Marvel has anything that's like that. Marvel is still very much, like Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man, and he will be Iron Man for the foreseeable future. Anyhow. Oh, the other anthology I want to talk about, The Boys. I saw The Boys Diabolical, which, if you're a fan of The Boys, 2 episodes are worth watching. The rest you can kind of skip, honestly. You can watch the 3rd episode and the last episode. those are decent boys installments. The other stuff, I mean, it's okay. So if you don't know, The Boys is kind of the anti-superhero, where basically you have a corporation that called Vought, which starts giving people the super serum, and that creates the superheroes that way through the super serum called Compound V. And this anthology basically is 8 episodes. They're about 14 minutes long, so they're not terribly long. You can sit down and watch the entire thing. And they kind of explore different avenues. Like the first one is a Seth Rogen penned one, which honestly I didn't like because it was basically a spoof of Baby's Day Out. You know, that kind of comedy of the baby is going through the town and all this dangerous stuff is happening. Okay, but the thing was, in this version, the baby has the laser eyes. So, yeah, okay. It's kind of, I can kind of pass. The second one is written by the other, not Dan Harmon, but the other Jim Boland of Rick and Morty. So it's got a Rick and Morty flavor. All the soups find out who their parents are, and they go and murder their parents. It's got the humor, but it's okay. The third one is the one I would recommend watching. It's the one where it's the actual one with the characters of Billy the Butcher and the other character. So they're actually from the comic book, and it actually feels like a boys episode story. So that's worth watching. And then there's one that Aquafina wrote that was just I thought it was stupid. I'm not a fan of scat humor, like poop stuff. Just disgusts me to the core where I can't take it. Like I don't find it funny, I'm sorry, for me, doesn't work. Like I was disgusted by it. I thought it was horrible. And they had one of them was where the two soups fall in love while fighting the bad guy, and the child, they're going to get a divorce, so the child gets the bad guy to kind of get them together. That's an Aisha Tyler one. That's okay. It's of the ones that I don't recommend. You can watch that one's not bad. And the other one they did which was one written by Andy Samberg, and that one I thought was quite beautiful. So between that one and that's one where the aunt is this Asian couple, and his wife gets sick with cancer. So the husband, and they're both elderly. He gets Compound V and shoots her up with it, and then she escapes. That's kind of poignant. It's worth watching. But really, if you didn't watch them, no biggie. Why somebody comment? I don't know why the comments are being deleted. I'm not even seeing them here. So it's not me doing it. I'm not seeing any. Oh, I see a couple. That wasn't me. Sorry, I had the. All right, what are we doing here? Let's go back to some of your comments. Let's see. Didn't Paul Dano seem to be imitating Ledger? No, I don't think so. I think that Riddler is much more menacing than. And if you watch, again, like if you go out and you watch all the extended Batman universe stuff like I have, you kind of start seeing that Riddler in the other universes. He's not as put together as like the Riddler from like Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn's Riddler is kind of funny. At the season 2, Harley Quinn basically captures the Riddler and makes him run a hamster wheel to power her horrible thing. Anyhow, I have a Bat crush. I do have a Bat crush. I love me some Batman. Quick comment on why Batman is my favorite. We'll wait for the comment. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Personally, I have a aversion to Batman themed stuff because where they filmed that kid thing in Toronto. Oh, interesting. Marcelo says, I came back from the Batman. I had to walk out of the theater when the Catwoman said, white privilege woke BS. I will agree that line doesn't really fit. Like that line, that particular line, I mean, the thing is, though, that's kind of window dressing woke stuff. It doesn't affect the story, but it sticks out like a sore thumb because she's complaining about rich white men to a rich white dude who's Batman, who she just like kissed and made out with. Like, he's a white dude. He's a rich white asshole, you know? So yeah, I agree. Would the movie be better without that line? Probably. Would it affect, but leaving it in there, taking it out, I don't think it would affect much of the story. That's the only thing. I think that was just a dumb line. Gioco says, I love the Batman, but isn't Rob Pat missing the Bruce Wayne charm, essentially Batman? So the thing is, though, I see that argument being proposed. The thing is, this Batman year 2, he isn't charming. He is all encompassed with his hate, with his vengeance and anger as Batman. He hasn't developed a wing. In fact, the movie kind of says this, that the mask is who he really is. Like, he'd rather be Batman than be Bruce Wayne. So he hasn't figured out a way to do both yet. So that's why I think from a story perspective that makes sense. Why his Batman doesn't have that Bruce Wayne charm, because he isn't Bruce Wayne. He is angry Batman at this point of his life, of his career. Yeah, Daniel's got a good point. Why Batman my favorite? Batman's powers and ability to solve conflict is easily understood compared to other superheroes. Batman's weaknesses, his limitations and personal costs are more interesting than his powers. Batman's abilities and powers expand slowly and are introduced before needing to solve a conflict. I agree with you. I think I've got a point. You know, like they kind of like joke about it in the Justice League movie, where Flash asks, "Hey, what's your superpower?" He says, "I'm rich." Yeah, that is, and unfortunately, that is kind of what happened to a lot of the Batman stuff. Was that it leans too heavy on the rich part. So it leans too heavy on technology, where Batman's basically a technologist. And it kind of culminates in the 1960s version, where you have Batman, you know, a shark is biting his leg, and he pulls out this bat repellent, or shark repellent, and he sprays his leg. Oh, bat shark repellent. Never leave home without it, right? Like, that's leaning too hard into the whole... He's got gadgets for everything. And that's really not what makes Batman work. Batman's not like a gadget freak. He's not go gadget, right? It's more about conflict, dealing with the pain. I think that's what the why the Nolan films seem to work really well was it was all about internal conflict. And you know, again, the greatest things about the hero mythos is self-sacrifice, you know, doing the right thing when it's the damn hardest thing you can do, kind of a thing. And that's what makes Batman work. It's not toys. It's not, you know, it's not his Batarang. So. Oh, Benjamin Dover wrote an episode of The Boys on Spec, when Homelander getting canceled and joining the Water Guy to start a white supremacist counter 7 team. In the comic book, there is, I believe, a white supremacist comic, like a white person, or maybe I'm getting that wrong. Maybe that's just the character of, maybe I'm mixing that character up with Stormfront. So, but I mean, they're still waiting on WB to get back to me. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's definitely, I mean, you could also very much go, you know, beyond white supremacists at that point. The Boys could just be like supremacy. Anybody who doesn't have superpowers is less of a person and should be enslaved. And are they wrong? That's the scary part. It goes back to the kind of like the Nietzsche Superman idea, right? Supermensch. Although I will admit I don't fully understand it, but the idea that there are supermen, why shouldn't everyone else be subservient to Homelander? Why Why should Homeland, and again, this is not uniquely my idea, it's a Superman parable too. Why should Superman serve people that are lesser than him? Why? I mean, Homelander can just laser eye everybody. Why is he at the beck and call of these a-holes? Why should any soup be answered to any human, normal human? Again, that's what's fun about superhero, like when you get to do the boys stuff and stuff that is like meta analysis of the superhero concept. Why should Superman be good? Again, I know there's also that Superman, the dark Superman, where Superman is evil kind of storyline. Rigel says, if we learn anything from Batman Forever, it's that Superman should be exactly what McDonald's wants him to be. There's a great, somebody put it, I forget who it was, who did a video on YouTube about Batman and the tie-in to like the Batman merchandising. Just the insane amount of merchandising they did because Time Warner had just like merged right when Batman came out, and they just went full on like assault everything Batman related, right? It's a great little internet documentary. Check it out if you can find it. I don't know what it's called though. I forget who made it, but it was really good. Did you see the scene, early series where they climb up the building sides and the Met cameos of celebrities? Yeah, that's part of the charm of that old Batman. A guy getting beaten up and transmatized all night realistically won't be able to Tony Stark type playboy in the day. Also, that green liquid injection is reference to Bane. Oh, you mean that little thing he shoots himself up at the end of the movie? Maybe. What time is it? 4:44. I get going pretty soon because I gotta get some dinner and then go sit in rehearsal for Cinderella. Cinderella I'm doing is pretty cool. So I'm going to talk about it real quickly. Cinderella originally was 1950s. It was Julie Andrews was in the original Cinderella. It was a television made for television series. Now the funny thing the interesting thing about Cinderella was Julie Andrews starred. Roger and Hamster originally only wrote it because they wanted to work with Julie Andrews. And the television stations were just they're having huge success with putting like musicals on TV. So they asked Oscar Hammerstein and Richard Rodgers to write a musical for television. And so they did. They wrote Cinderella, which they based it on very much on the Perrault, I don't know how to pronounce it, Perrault version, which is very close to what Disney eventually did. I forget how Disney lines up with that. But anyhow, the history side of it was, when they first made the Cinderella, videotape didn't exist. So there's no recording of the original Julie Andrews version. There might have been some kinescopes of it, but they've kind of gone lost. Nobody has the original version of Julie Andrews as Cinderella in the very first one. The one that we all watch now is the 1967 version with Leslie Ann Warren. And Leslie Ann Warren is, my God, she is freaking beautiful. It's her first thing she ever did. But she has a huge neck. She has like a giraffe neck. But she is so gorgeous. She plays it so well, and that's when I got. I took a little bit of a little something, which is perfectly legal here in this state of mind, and I started freaking out because I saw her neck, because it was like, oh man, her neck is huge. And then the Queen's neck was also huge, and I was like freaking out. I was like, oh my God, there's like giraffe people on screen, and I was freaking out. And then I was like, okay, well, I love me some Leslie Ann Warren, so I went and watched Clue after that, and that was my night. I watched Clue and Cinderella, so that's the '67 version. The version I'm playing was like redone in 2000 in Broadway. So Broadway turned the television musical into a full-blown musical, added quite a bit of subplots to it, so they actually flesh out the story. In fact, the Prince and Cinderella meet again after they've had their ball. They meet again with the fairy godmother, because Lord knows they all got to freaking dance every 10 minutes. There's got to be a freaking dance because it's Oscar and Hammerstein. But anyhow, they get together after the ball, because the Prince has another ball. He has a banquet, not a ball. he hosts a banquet, and the Cinderella comes dressed as Cinderella, the princessy Cinderella, and then they have another thing, so they add a bunch of story to it. But it's cute. It's not bad. Like, it actually works, I think. I haven't seen it because I'm sitting in the pit. I can't see anything. And my phone's going off. Let's see. Oh, it's my friend Tim. I'll talk to him in a second. So anyhow, yeah. I'm off to Cinderella here in a little bit. What else is the guys saying? We'll wrap this up pretty soon because I've been on here for about an hour and 40. Oh, it's a long one today. Did I like the CW Stargirl series? I don't really watch anything CW-wise. The Batman would have been amazing in black and white? Maybe. That might be true. 1.37 ratio? I don't know. I think it works as a anamorphic lens. I bet it's a lot of fun working on a stage production. It is. It's the only at this point in my life. It's the only musical thing I want to do. Like, I don't want to play in a big band. Honestly, I'm kind of over that scene. But I will do a musical. Now, it is kind of boring in the pit sometimes because sometimes, especially in rehearsal, they're up on stage just like doing blocking, and you don't know what's going on. And you're like, well, I'm just gonna sit here. Do nothing. It's a lot of like hurry up and wait. So it's like a movie set in that situation. But I think it's perfect because for me, as a director, filmmaker, every time I do a musical, I hear the voices, I'm imagining how I would shoot it. So I'm watching the movie in my mind. In a movie in my mind. Okay, I can't sing that song very well. I'm playing the movie in my mind while I'm hearing the scene. So it's fun in that sense. And Schlitzpitz is up for some Knackwurst time. Best munchie ever. Go for it. Enjoy the dentist. Oh, don't you remind me. Do you love the sound of music? What instrument do I play? I play trumpet, and I play flugelhorn, and I play piccolo trumpet on this show. They're all B flat, so they're all the same idea. All right, guys. Well, that's it for me. Thanks for hanging out with me. Again, if you want to do another critique next week, pop it in the contact form, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll see what we do. All right, guys. We'll check you guys out. Go see some movies. Go make something great. And I will talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.